Narrator, voiceover. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a magical forest. It was said that if you entered this forest, you would find all sorts of magical creatures like fairies, elves, and unicorns. Cut to a shot of a young girl walking through the forest. Narrator, voiceover. This is the story of a young girl who stumbled upon the magical world of fairy tales. The young girl comes across a small cottage in the forest and knocks on the door. A fairy answers and welcomes her inside. Fairy, welcome, my dear. What brings you to our magical forest? Girl, I was walking through the forest and stumbled upon your cottage. I didn't know that fairies were real. Fairy, of course we are real. In fact, we have many stories to share with you. The fairy leads the girl to a comfortable chair and begins to tell her a story. Fairy, once upon a time, there was a young prince who fell in love with a beautiful princess. But there was one problem: she was cursed by an evil sorceress and could only be saved by a true love's kiss. The fairy goes on to tell the story of the prince's journey to save the princess, and how he had to overcome many obstacles to reach her. Cut to a shot of the young girl looking entranced by the story. Narrator, voiceover. Fairy tales have a way of transporting us to magical worlds, where anything is possible. The fairy continues to tell stories to the young girl, each one more enchanting than the last. Cut to a shot of the sun setting over the forest. Narrator, voiceover. As the sun set over the forest, the young girl realized that it was time for her to go home. Girl, thank you so much for sharing these magical stories with me. I will never forget this day. Fairy, you're welcome, my dear. Remember, the magic of fairy tales will always be with you. The young girl says goodbye to the fairy and walks out of the cottage. She looks back and sees the fairy waving goodbye. Cut to a shot of the young girl walking out of the forest. Narrator, voiceover. And so, the young girl left the magical forest, with a heart full of wonder and a head full of magical stories. Closing shot of the forest as the sun sets. Narrator, voiceover. Remember, the magic of fairy tales is always with us. All we have to do is open our hearts and let it in. End of video.